Autumn market in Marrakech. A soothing journey. Silence. Then, the gentlest sound, a single clay bell, struck once, fading into stillness. The screen stays dark for a long moment. Slowly, like dawn coming, a warm amber light rises, the soft, honeyed glow of lanterns. We are not yet anywhere. We are in the space just before. A long, slow aerial pull. We drift down from a violet sky, stars still faint overhead, toward the rooftops of Marrakech. The city is ancient ochre and rose, cooling in the evening air. This is the hour the city breathes out. The heat of the day has loosened its grip, and in its place comes something softer, jasmine on the air, the distant murmur of water in a courtyard, the last calls of swallows wheeling home above the minarets. The camera drifts lower. We pass a rooftop where a woman hangs lanterns. Her hands move slowly, without hurry. There is no rush here. There never was. We enter through a narrow archway of carved cedar. The gate is old, worn smooth at shoulder height by 1,000 years of passing hands. Beyond it, the market opens. Her name is Elara. She is a traveler who came to Marrakech meaning to stay 3 days and has stayed 3 weeks. She does not yet know why. Perhaps she will find out tonight. We see her from behind. First, a woman in a loose linen jacket the color of sand, a worn leather bag at her side. She pauses at the gate and simply breathes. Elara, softly, almost to herself, there it is. The market stretches before her. The Jima Elephant at dusk, that vast open square ringed by a world of color and scent, now quieting as the evening deepens. But it is the far side she is drawn to, the souks, the covered lanes where the real life of the city has always been lived. She walks forward. We walk with her. The light here comes from everywhere and nowhere, from iron lanterns hanging overhead, from oil lamps set inside stalls, from the fading blush of the sky between the canopies. Everything is amber. Everything is warm. Elara slows as she passes the first of the spice merchants. Great cones of powder and saffron, turmeric, paprika, and deep-dried rose. Colors so vivid they seem to glow from within. The vendor, a man with silver at his temples and kind eyes, is tidying his display with the unhurried care of someone who has done this 10,000 times. Each scoop of spice is settled, each cone smoothed with a small wooden paddle. He looks up and meets Elara's eyes. He does not rush to sell. He simply nods, the way one person nods to another when both are simply glad the world exists. Spice merchant, Ras El Han out. 36 spices. Each one, a small story. Elara, 36. Spice merchant, a slow smile. Some say 27. Some say 40. It depends who is counting and what they believe love requires. Elara smiles. She buys a small paper cone of the blend, and he folds the top over with 3 precise tucks, the way his grandfather taught him. She walks on, and we linger a moment longer on the spice stall, the colors settling, the merchant resuming his quiet work, the lamp overhead casting a halo of gold. The sound of the market grows very soft here, the clink of metal, a murmured prayer from somewhere, the scrape of a wooden stool. A young boy, perhaps 10 years old, sits cross-legged in a stall hung entirely with lanterns. Hundreds of them, each one punched with a different pattern of stars and crescents and geometric flowers. He is working on a new one, punching holes with a small awl. Each tap is deliberate. He does not look up as Elara stops. When the lanterns catch the light, the patterns spill out across the walls, the floor, across Elara's face and hands. 1,000 tiny stars, all of them moving gently with the evening air. Elara, very quietly. It's like standing inside the sky. The boy looks up now, pleased by this, as though she has understood something important. Boy, my father says the holes are not the pattern. The light is the pattern. The holes are only doors. Elara stands in the falling light for a long moment. She does not move. Neither do we. This is one of those moments, the kind that does not ask anything of you and gives everything in return. The lane widens slightly into a small alcove where carpets are stacked and hung, a tapestry of geometry and color that muffles sound and warms the air. An older woman is folding carpets for the night, each one set with the same gentle reverence. Some of these were made by hand in the high Atlas, in villages where the patterns carry meaning the weavers do not speak aloud. Elara runs her hand along one, deep indigo and cream, a repeating diamond that contains a smaller diamond that contains a smaller still, endlessly inward. Carpet merchant. Without looking up, the Berber women say, the center of the pattern is where you put the thing you wish to protect. Elara, what did the woman who made this one put there? The merchant finally looks up, studying the carpet as if seeing it for the first time, or the last. Carpet merchant, her daughter's name, in a language that is now only spoken by 4 people. Elara is quiet for a moment. Elara, that's not sad. That's the opposite of sad. Carpet merchant, slowly nodding, yes, exactly that. The merchant sets the folded carpet gently on the stack. The lantern above them flickers once, a slow, breathing pulse, and steadies. At the end of the lane, where the canopy ends and open sky begins again, a small table is set beneath an acacia tree. An oil lamp burns on one corner. At the table sits an old man. He is not selling anything, exactly. Before him are sheets of pale cream paper, a glass jar of ink the color of midnight, and several reed pens of different sizes. He is writing, slowly, as though the act of writing is itself the destination. Elara slows. She watches from a distance for a moment, not wanting to interrupt. But the old man looks up, and his eyes are clear and unhurried, and he gestures to the small wooden stool across from him. Calligrapher, in accented English, warm and precise. You have been walking for a long time tonight. Elara, is it that obvious? Calligrapher, smiling. Your feet have slowed. Your eyes have opened. This is how people look when the market has spoken to them. Elara sits. The old man sets aside the page he was working on and straightens a fresh sheet of paper. Calligrapher, your name. Tell me your name. Elara, she responds. He repeats it quietly to himself, turning it in his mouth like a stone that might be precious. Then he lifts his pen. He begins to write, and writing, in Arabic calligraphy, is something else entirely. It is not typing. It is not even writing as most of us know it. It is drawing that thinks, and thinking that moves, and moving that leaves something beautiful behind. The camera watches his hand closely. The pen bends and lifts, each stroke a breath. Calligrapher, the first letter of your name. In Arabic, the closest sound begins with Aleph. He draws a long, upright stroke. This is Aleph. It is the first letter of the alphabet. It is also a number, 1. It means the beginning. It means God. It means the single breath before the word. He pauses to let the ink settle. Elara leans forward slightly. Calligrapher, the lamb, a fluid, looping stroke like a dancer's arm. This one is partnership. It is the sound that joins. In Arabic, al means the, but inside that small word is lamb reaching toward Aleph. The two of them together. They are never written separately. Elara, quietly. They need each other. Calligrapher. All good letters do. He continues. The lamp between them is very still. Calligrapher. An RA. A small, curved sweep like a wave settling. This is RA, the letter of the sun, of the journey outward. RA is the letter at the heart of the word for wind, for the road, for the stranger who arrives and becomes perhaps a little less strange. He sits down the pen and turns the paper so Elara can see it. Her name, a name that came from wherever names come from, carried across an ocean, spoken by a mother who did not know its older meanings, is now also this. 3 shapes of ink, each one carrying a world. Elara, after a long moment, I don't know what I expected tonight, but it wasn't this. Calligrapher, gently, the market always knows what you needed. It simply waits until the evening is quiet enough for you to hear it. He blows softly on the ink to dry it, then folds the paper with the careful precision of a man who wraps everything as though it might be opened by someone 100 years from now. He passes it across the table. Elara holds in both hands. Around them, as if on some unheard signal, the market begins its closing. Not all at once, slowly, one lamp at a time. First the stall at the far end of the lane, where the young boy has packed away his all and his lanterns. His father lifts him, sleepy now, onto one shoulder, and carries him home through the darkening lanes. Then the carpet merchant, who draws a cloth over her wares with one long, practiced motion, and locks her small chest, and pauses to look up at the stars. Then the spice man, who covers his cones with cloth and snuffs his lamp, and is for a moment a silhouette against the last of the light. Each extinguished lamp does not make the world darker. It only makes the remaining lights more precious. Elara sits a little longer with the old calligrapher. They do not speak. There is nothing left to say, only to sit with what has already been given. Finally, the calligrapher caps his ink, wipes his pen on a small cloth, and folds his papers. He rises slowly, and Elara rises too. Calligrapher, simply, sleep well. Elara, beginning, the letter that joins, the sun on the road. He turns and walks into the lanes, his lamp in one hand, until the darkness folds around him and only the glow remains, growing smaller, smaller. And then only the moon. Elara stands in the empty market square. The last stalls are dark. The canopies are still. Overhead, the moon, autumnful, honey-colored, casts a light that is not quite day and not quite dream. She looks down at the paper in her hands. Her name, a beginning, a joining, a road toward the sun. She holds it to the moonlight. The ink glows. She breathes out. Slow fade. The moonlight holds. The moonlit square. No movement. The fountain, barely audible, running somewhere behind a wall. Elara stands in the center of it all, the folded paper held in both hands. We stay here for a long moment, longer than feels strictly necessary, and exactly as long as it needs to be. There is a particular quality to an empty place that was recently full of people. The warmth they left behind. The way the air still carries traces of their conversations, their laughter, the particular combination of spice and lamp oil and wool and wood that is the smell of a market at the end of its day. Elara breathes it in. She is not in a hurry. She has nowhere to be except the riad at the end of a lane she has memorized by feel now. The left turn at the tiled fountain, the right of the fig tree, the low door with the brass handle worn bright by 10,000 entries. She tucks the calligrapher's paper carefully into the inside pocket of her bag, against her chest. She does this without thinking, the way you put something important somewhere close without having to decide to. Then she begins to walk. The lanes of the Medina at night are a different world from the lanes during the day. Not smaller, exactly, but more intimate. The sky above each alley is a narrow ribbon of deep blue, sewn with stars. The walls, which in daylight are a busy terracotta, become in moonlight something closer to silver and shadow. Elara knows these lanes now. She learned them slowly, the way you learn a piece of music, not by studying a map, but by walking the same passages over and over until your feet know where they are before your mind catches up. She passes a bakery where the bread for tomorrow is already being made. The door is open a crack, and from it comes a warmth and a smell. Yeast and with smoke and something faintly sweet that slows her step without meaning to. Through the gap, a man in a white apron working dough on a long wooden table. He is singing something very quietly to himself. Not a song exactly, more like a sound he makes to keep his hands company. He does not see her. She does not disturb him. Some things are not meant to be interrupted. She walks on. A cat appears from a doorway, one of Marrakech's 1,000 cats, orange and unhurried, with the particular confidence of an animal that knows it belongs somewhere completely. It walks alongside Elara for a few paces, then peels away and disappears through a gap in a wall that could not possibly accommodate it, and yet does. Elara, quietly, to where the cat was, good night. She reaches the first turning point, the tiled fountain set into the wall at the junction of two lanes. It is perhaps 2 feet across, deep blue and white zellage in a sunburst pattern, filled with water that reflects the moon in a small, wobbling disk of light. This fountain has been running for 400 years. Elara learned this from a very old woman who sat beside it one afternoon and told her its history without being asked, told her about the merchant who commissioned it, and the craftsman who made the tiles, and the way the water was brought from the mountains in channels that the Romans had cut, and the Arabs had continued, and the Berbers had tended, and no one had thought to stop. 400 years of water. 400 years of people pausing here to drink, to wash their hands, to rest at the turning point between one place and another. Elara stops now, as she always stops here, and holds her hand under the thin stream of water. It is cold, mountain cold, the kind of cold that has traveled a long way to reach you, and is still carrying the memory of stone and ice and altitude. She stays until the cold becomes stillness, and the stillness becomes something like rest. Then she turns left. This lane is narrower than the others. The walls on either side lean very slightly toward each other at the top, as though they have been having a long, slow conversation across the centuries and are gradually drawing closer to hear each other better. Above them both, the strip of sky is less than a meter wide. Stars fill it completely. The houses here are quiet in a way that is different from empty. This is the quiet of sleep, of families inside whose breathing has slowed and whose dreams have begun. Behind one shuttered window, the sound of a radio turned down very low, a voice, a melody, something that reaches the street only as texture. Behind another, the smell of mint tea being made. Not the sharp first pour smell, but the slower, darker smell of tea that has been steeping gently on a low flame while someone sits with their thoughts. Elara slows without meaning to. She walks as quietly as she can, aware of herself as a presence moving through other people's rest, a traveler passing through the edges of lives she will never fully know, and being changed by the proximity anyway. This is what travel does, she thinks. It does not give you other people's lives. It gives you the awareness of how many lives there are. She walks softly. The fig tree stands at the corner of a small widening in the lane, not quite a courtyard, not quite a street. Its roots have lifted the cobblestones around it in a slow upheaval that no one has corrected in what looks like decades. The tree is old and enormous. Its branches spread across the lane in a canopy that blocks the stars entirely. In the day, this tree gives shade and figs and somewhere for 3 old men to play cards every afternoon beneath it. At night, it gives darkness and presence. The particular presence of something alive and enormous that was here long before you and will be here long after. Elara stops beneath it and looks up into the branches. The leaves, still and dark, hold moonlight at their edges. The tree makes no sound at all. This is one of the things she has noticed about very old things. They have long since stopped needing to announce themselves. She puts her hand on the bark. It is warm, warmer than the stone of the walls, warmer than the night air. The warmth of a living thing that has been gathering heat all day and holds it now the way old would hold fire long after the flame is gone. Elara, her hand on the bark, very quietly, still here. She does not know who she is talking to, the tree, or herself, or no one. It does not seem to matter. The tree does not reply, but the warmth under her hand continues. She turns right. And then, the door. Low, arched, cedar-planked and iron-studded, set into a wall of smooth white plaster that glows in the moonlight like something that has swallowed the day and is giving it back slowly. The brass handle, worn to brightness by 10,000 hands. Elara takes out her key. It is old, heavy brass, ornate in the way of old Moroccan keys, a small piece of worked metal that looks more like jewelry than a tool. The lock turns with a sound that is entirely satisfying, a deep, unhurried clunk, the sound of a door that has been keeping its promise for a very long time. She steps through and pulls the door gently shut behind her. The sound of the lane, the distant fountain, the city breathing, becomes very faint and then is replaced by something else entirely. The Riyadh courtyard at night is one of the most beautiful things Elara has ever seen. She thinks this every night, and it does not diminish. The courtyard is small, perhaps 8 meters square, and open to the sky at the top. Around it run 2 levels of arched colonnades, their plasterwork carved in patterns so intricate they look like lace turned to stone. At the center, a fountain, the twin of the one in the lane, but smaller, entirely still now, its surface a perfect mirror for the moon. Orange trees in painted pots stand at each corner, their fruit still green, their blossoms long finished, but their scent somehow still present in the walls, in the water, in the cool air that the courtyard keeps to itself. Elara does not go immediately inside. She never does. She sets her bag down on the low tile bench that runs along one wall, and she sits, and she lets the courtyard settle around her. The silence here is complete in a way that outdoor silence rarely is. The city, its lamps, its lanes, its voices and music and centuries, is on the other side of a wall. Here there is only the sky, and the fountain's reflection, and the orange trees, and the sound of the night cooling the stone. She closes her eyes. A soft sound from the inner door, footsteps on tile, unhurried. Then the door opens, and a warm slice of candlelight falls across the courtyard. It is Khadija, the woman who tends a riad and has tended it since before Elara arrived, and will tend it long after she is gone. She is perhaps 50, with gray at her temples, and an absolute economy of movement that Elara has come to think of as a kind of wisdom. The way someone looks when they've spent a lifetime doing exactly what needs doing and nothing more. She carries a small brass tray, a teapot, 1 glass, a sprig of fresh mint across the top of the pot, a single almond biscuit on a white plate. She sets it on the bench beside Elara, without speaking. She glances up at the sky. She nods once at nothing in particular, or at everything. Khadija, pouring the tea from a height, the amber thread steady and precise. The market was good tonight? Elara, the market was very good tonight. Khadija, setting the glass before her. You have the look of someone who found something they were not looking for. Elara, a small smile. Is that a look? Khadija, in this city, it is a very common one. She straightens, gives the tray one small adjustment, and turns to go back inside. Then at the door she pauses. Khadija, the first night I came to Marrakech, I was 19. I walked until my feet gave out. I sat down in a lane, and a cat sat beside me, and I thought, this is the place. A pause. I never left. She goes inside. The door closes softly. The candlelight narrows to a line and disappears. Elara lifts the glass. The tea is hot and very sweet. 3 spoons of sugar at least, the way Khadija always makes it, the way mint tea has been made in this city for as long as anyone can remember. And the mint is fresh and generous. The leaves bruise just enough to release their oil into the steam. She drinks slowly. Above her, the sky is doing what autumn skies do at this hour in this part of the world. Deepening, clarifying, the stars becoming more precise as the last of the evening warmth lifts away, and the air becomes clean and very still. She can see the plow. She can see Orion just beginning to rise at the edge of the courtyard's open square. She can see, if she looks carefully, the faint smear of the Milky Way, which in the Medina, with its low walls and absence of electric light, is still visible, unlike in most cities. She thinks about what the calligrapher said. A beginning, a joining, a road still being traveled. She thinks about the spice merchant and his 36 spices that might be 27 or 44. She thinks about the boy and the holes that are only doors. She thinks about the weaver's name at the center of the carpet, held safe inside the pattern forever. The fountain in the center of the courtyard catches moonlight on its still surface. Every time she exhales, the water shivers very slightly, her breath carrying that far, across that much silence. She finds this remarkable. She watches it happen, exhales again, watches the water move. She is here. She is completely here. This is rarer than it sounds. She takes the calligrapher's paper from her bag and unfolds it carefully in the moonlight. The ink, in this light, is not black but a deep blue-black that carries some quality of the night sky itself, as though he had written with something distilled from exactly this darkness. She looks at the 3 shapes for a long time. Aleph, the upright line, the beginning, a person standing in an open field, looking up. She looks up. The stars are there. Lam, the reaching stroke, the letter that joins, the 2 that became, over centuries, 1. She thinks of all the people who joined things tonight. The boy continuing his grandfather's pattern. Fatima folding a carpet made by a woman she will never meet. Hassan wrapping his spices in the same brown paper with the same 3 folds his father taught him. Khadija pouring tea from a height, the amber thread precise and unbroken, as it has always been poured, as it will always be poured, as long as there are people here who know the warmth of a small brass tray arriving in the dark. R.A. The arc like a wave settling, the road still being traveled. She is on the road. She is still on it. She does not know where it goes in this. She has decided, is not a problem. This is the whole point. She refolds the paper. She holds it for a moment against her chest, not dramatically, not with any particular intention, just because it is warm from her hands and the warmth is good. She sets it on the bench beside her empty glass. The moon has moved since she sat down. Not much, but enough that its reflection in the fountain has shifted to one side, and the shadow of the orange tree on her left now reaches a little further across the tiles. The night is doing what nights do, continuing quietly, without any help from anyone. An owl calls from somewhere above the rooftops, once unhurried, and then silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of quiet. They're different things. Silence is what happens when sound stops. Quiet is what was always there underneath. The courtyard fountain makes a single small sound, a drip from the edge of the basin, one note in a scale that is mostly rest. The note falls. The courtyard absorbs it. The quiet deepens, which should not be possible, and is. Elara's shoulders drop another degree. Her hands, resting in her lap, are still. Her breathing, which she is no longer thinking about, has slowed to the rhythm of the place. The rhythm of old walls and older water and a sky full of stars that have been doing this for longer than anyone can usefully imagine. She is not asleep. She is in that country just before sleep, the one that has its own geography, its own quality of light. The thoughts that arrive here are not sharp. They come the way the stars come. You don't see them arrive. You only notice, at some point, that they are there. A candle in the inner room gutters and steadies. The line of light under the door pulses once, almost like a breath, and holds. She thinks, I will stay another week. She thinks, perhaps two. She does not think anything after that. At some point, she cannot say when, she becomes aware of a coolness that is no longer comfortable. The autumn night has deepened past pleasant and arrived at the edge of cold. It is not unpleasant. It is simply the signal that outside is finished and inside is ready. She gathers her things. The bag. The paper, which she slots back into its pocket against her chest. The empty glass, which she carries to the door out of habit and sets on the tray Khadija left behind. She pauses at the inner door and looks back at the courtyard. The moon in the fountain, the orange trees in their pots, the arches and their carved plaster, the cobblestones and the star-shaped tiles, and the small round drain at the courtyard center where rain goes in the winter, straight down into the earth, as it has always gone. Everything is exactly as it was when she arrived. Everything is completely different. Elara, very softly, to the courtyard, thank you. She opens the inner door. Warm air comes to meet her, cedar and lamp oil, and the faintest trace of mint, and something underneath all of it that is simply the smell of a place that has been lived in with care for a very long time. She goes inside. The courtyard holds the moonlight. The fountain holds the moon's reflection. The orange trees stand in their corners with the patience of living things that have learned to stay. The interior of the riad is warm in a way that is different from the warmth of the courtyard. Not the moon's silver coolness, but the warmth of enclosed space of walls that have absorbed the day and release it now slowly, gently, like someone setting down something they have been carrying for a long time. The staircase is narrow and winds upward in a tight spiral of pale stone. The steps are worn at their centers, dipped, almost like shallow cups, by the feet of everyone who has climbed them before. Elara has counted them, 17 steps. She counts them still, quietly, without meaning to, the way you count the steps of a place you have decided to love. 1, 2, 3. The walls of the stairwell are white plaster, marked here and there with small imperfections, a crack that has been filled, a patch of older color showing through, a small painted border near the top that someone added perhaps 50 years ago, and no one has seen any reason to remove. Blue and white, a simple repeating pattern of linked diamonds. 7, 8, 9. A small arched window halfway up, no larger than a book, set deep into the wall. Through it, a rectangle of night sky. 3 stars, perfectly framed. Elara pauses here, as she always pauses here, and looks at the 3 stars. She does not know their names. She has never tried to find out. Some things are better held as simply what they appear to be. 3 lights in the dark, neither near nor far, neither old nor new from where you're standing. just present, just there. 15, 16, 17. The landing. The door to her room is low. She has learned to duck, finally, without thinking, and opens into a space that is neither large nor small, but exactly sufficient. This is the quality that good rooms share with good sentences: sufficiency. Nothing missing, nothing excessive. The walls are tade-lacked, the ancient Moroccan plaster, polished with river stone until as smooth as skin and has a faint, living sheen. In daylight, it is the color of warm cream. By candlelight, it is amber, gold, the color of the inside of a closed eye. The bed is low, with a carved cedar headboard and a coverlet of heavy cotton in deep indigo and white, the same colors as the fountain in the lane. There are 2 pillows and a third folded at the foot, which Elara has never unfolded and probably never will, but whose presence she appreciates regardless. Elara sets her bag down on the low wooden chest at the foot of the bed. She takes the calligrapher's paper from the inner pocket and sets it on the bedside table, leaning it against the lamp so the light falls across it. The 3 shapes glow. Before anything else, the window. Always the window first. It is set into the wall opposite the bed, wide and arched, with wooden shutters painted the blue of old sea glass. During the day, it looks out over the rooftops of the Medina, a landscape of terraces and satellite dishes and washing lines and the occasional tree growing from a courtyard below, and in the distance, if the light is right, the faint outline of the Atlas Mountains, which are always there and which she still finds, every morning, quietly astonishing. At night, the view is different. The rooftops are mostly dark, flat shadows and varying shades of not quite black, with here and there the warm point of a lamp in a window or on a terrace, and above them all the sky, which out here, away from the main square, carries enough darkness to show its full depth. Elara opens the shutters. The night air comes in, cooler now, with an edge of something almost cold that carries the smell of the mountains from a great distance. The kind of air that has been traveling for a long time and is still not finished. She rests her forearms on the sill and looks out. The city is quieter than it has been all evening. The last of the food stalls will be closing now, the last conversations winding down, the last tea glasses emptied and turned upside down on their trays. The city is releasing the day. She can feel it, not here exactly, but feel it, the way you feel a long exhalation when you're standing near someone who has finally let go of something they were holding. Somewhere below and to the left, a man is singing, not performing, not projecting his voice outward, but singing the way people sing when they believe they are alone, for the pleasure of the sound, for the company of their own voice in the dark. The melody is one she does not recognize. It resolves and pauses and begins again slightly differently, as though he is finding it as he goes. She listens until he stops. Then there is only the city breathing, and the mountains in the distance being mountains, and the stars doing whatever stars do when no one is watching and they can simply get on with it. She moves through the room with the unhurried ease of someone in a place that has become, for now, theirs. The bag emptied of its day, the cone of spice set on the windowsill where its warmth will meet the night air, the key on its hook beside the door. She washes her hands and face in the small basin in the corner, the water cold from the clay jug, the towel rough-textured and smelling of something dried in sun. She does this slowly, the way the whole evening has been slow. Not because she is tired, though she is, but because this too is part of the day, and the day has been worth attending to. She sits on the edge of the bed and removes her shoes. The floor tiles are smooth and cool under her feet, a pattern of interlocking stars in terracotta and cream, hand-cut and hand-laid, fitted together with the kind of precision that comes from not rushing. She has stared at these tiles on many evenings. They do not resolve into anything other than what they are. but what there is endlessly satisfying. She takes the coverlet back. The sheets beneath are cool and smell of clean linen and the faint cedar of the chest they were stored in, and something else, some quality of this room, this air, this city that she cannot name and has stopped trying to. She gets into bed. She does not yet reach for the lamp. She lies on her back with the coverlet pulled to her chest and looks at the ceiling. It is a carved plaster ceiling, a pattern of interlocking geometric stars that echoes the floor, echoes the fountain, echoes the lanterns in the market, echoes everything in this city that seems to be one long conversation between the same few shapes, endlessly varied, never exhausted. In the lamplight, the shadows in the carved plaster shift very slightly with the flame's small breathing. The ceiling is alive in the way only candlelit things are alive. Not moving, exactly, but not still. Doing what the lantern boy's copper did. Holding a shape so that light can do the rest. She looks at the calligrapher's paper, leaning against the lamp on the bedside table. A beginning. A joining. A road still being traveled. She thinks about the calligrapher walking home through the lanes, his lamp in his hand, growing smaller. She thinks about where he lives, some house she will never see, some courtyard like this one or different, some room with some ceiling, and a table where tomorrow he will sit again and do the work he's been doing for 60 years. She thinks 60 years of the same work, not because there was nothing else, because the work was sufficient, because he had found the thing that, when you do it, makes the doing feel like the point rather than the means. Elara, very quietly to the ceiling, "What is mine, I wonder?" The ceiling does not answer. The lamp flame bends very slightly, straightens. The shadows shift and return. This, too, is an answer of kind. Now the room begins to offer its night sounds, the small orchestra of an old building settling into the cool. A timber somewhere in the roof, contracting as the temperature drops, a single soft tick, like a clock marking an hour that does not correspond to any hour on a watch. Then silence. Then another, from a different direction, as though the house is working through a list. The fountain in the courtyard below, just audible through the floor. Not the drip from earlier, but the permanent low murmur of running water, which is one of the oldest sounds there is, which the human body recognizes at a depth below thought, which says, "Water is near, you are safe, you can rest." From somewhere outside, a terrace, perhaps, or another courtyard, the sound of wind moving through the leaves of a large tree. Not a strong wind, a soft, exploratory wind, the kind that moves through a place the way a hand moves over a surface it is trying to remember. The leaves talk quietly to one another, and then are still. A door, very far away, opening and closing. Domestic. Ordinary. Someone going from one room to another in the middle of their ordinary night. A cat, somewhere on the rooftops, padding across tiles. The mountains in the far distance being mountains. That is all. That is everything. From where she lies, Elara can see the top of the open window, just the upper arc of the arch, and through it a small portion of sky. In this portion, 2 stars, different ones from the 3 she saw on the staircase window, or possibly the same ones shifted, the way everything shifts when you change your angle. She watches the stars. There is nothing to understand about stars. This is their great gift. You can look at them for as long as you like, and they will not ask anything of you, or offer any conclusion. They are simply at the distance they are at, doing the thing they're doing, which is so far beyond the scale of an evening in a riad in Marrakech that the comparison cannot even be made. And yet here they are, fitting perfectly in the upper arc of one arched window, available to anyone who looks up. The lamp beside her is very small now. She did not refill it before coming to bed, and it is finding its way down to its last. The light it gives is warm and contracting slowly, drawing itself inward the way warmth does when the night deepens. The shadows in the carved ceiling grow a little longer. The room gathers itself around her. She is not asleep. She is in the country just before sleep, where the edges of things soften and the thoughts that come are not demands but visitors, arriving without urgency, staying only briefly, departing without needing to be answered. The thoughts come gently, one by one, like the lamps going out in the market, each one a small, warm thing, dimming slowly. The spice merchant's hands, smoothing the cone, his patience with the paddle, with the powder, with the task that never ends, because tomorrow the cones will need smoothing again, and the day after, and this is not a burden but a practice. The lantern boy's face when he looked up, the pride in it, not the pride of someone showing off, but the quieter pride of someone doing the thing they were born into and finding, at 9 years old, that it is good. Fatima's hand smoothing the carpet's edge, the Berber woman's name, woven into the center of the pattern, held safe in the geometry forever. The calligrapher's pen lifting and falling, the sound it did not quite make, the sound of absolute attention, which is itself a kind of silence. And Khadija pouring the tea, the amber thread from height, the single biscuit on the white plate, the way she said, "I never left," not with regret, not with resignation, with the tone of someone reporting something that has turned out, all these years later, to be entirely correct. Elara lets each thought arrive and pass. She is not trying to hold them. She is not trying to make anything of them. They are the day. The day was good. Tomorrow will be different and also good, and she does not need to plan it or prepare for it. It will simply come, the way the morning always comes, not arriving so much as gradually becoming undeniable. The lamp on the bedside table flickers once, a longer movement than the ones before, the flame bending as if leaning to hear something, then steadying, then bending again, then very gently going out. The room does not go dark. The moonlight, which has been patient this whole time, waiting behind the lamplight, not competing, now comes forward and takes its place. It falls through the upper arc of the window in a clean, cool shaft, and it reaches just as far as the foot of the bed, where it rests on the indigo coverlet like a hand placed there for comfort. The ceiling is no longer amber and living with shadows. It is silver and very still. The carved stars in the plaster, which by lamplight were warm and shifting, are now precise and quiet, each one holding its shape without effort, the way the actual stars hold theirs. The calligrapher's paper on the bedside table catches the moonlight on one edge. Just one edge, just a line of silver, but it is enough. It is there. It is hers. Elara's eyes are still open. She is still in the country before sleep, but the border is very close now. She can feel it the way you feel a warm room before you enter it. The change in the air, the sense of something ready. From the window, the last sounds of the evening. Not many, not loud. The tree in someone's courtyard, moving very slightly in a breeze too gentle to feel. Water, somewhere, always water. The fountain in this courtyard, the fountain in the lane, the channels under the city carrying mountain water through the dark. The city breathing. Marrakech has been breathing for 1,000 years. Through heat and cold, through festival and fast, through the coming and going of every traveler who ever walked through its gates and thought. Here, perhaps, through everyone who stayed 3 days and stayed 3 weeks and said quietly to a fig tree in the dark, still here. Through all the names written in all the inks, all the patterns woven into all the carpets, all the spices smoothed into all the cones for all the mornings that followed all these nights. The city breathes. Elara breathes with it. Her eyes close. Not because she decided to close them, because the decision was no longer necessary. The room is silver and still. The coverlid is warm. The pillow is exactly the right depth for a head that is finally, fully setting itself down. The last thing she is aware of, or perhaps she's already asleep, and this is the first thing of the dream, is the moon, not seen now but felt. Its light on the coverlet at the foot of the bed, steady and cool, the way moonlight always is, the way it has always been, the way it will be tomorrow and the night after, and every night of every autumn, for as long as there are autumn nights and rooms with arched windows, and people who carry things home from the market that cannot be bought. A beginning, a joining, a road still. Hold here, the silver room, the breathing city, the mountain water running in the dark. Hold for as long as the night needs. The story is complete. Elara sleeps. The city holds the night.